Hello, hello.
Here we go.
Somebody mute Randall.
Got all his dancing out.
I'm immutable. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I do actually dance. These guys can attest. I do actually dance.
Was
behind
not
the scenes
very
with the
punny.
song.
he's
Was not
starting
very
early.
funny at all.
He's
Oh, it's
starting
great
early.
fun. It's great fun. It's great.
Hey,
fun.
Jessica. Unfortunately, Simon's not with us today.
Yeah.
I have
Business
not
got in the
forgotten
way.
you.
Yeah.
I do have a note here to get Jessica on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
All
Simon
right.
is facing a deadline, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of people are standing there going, "We need this. We need this." So yeah, he contacted us yesterday saying he's basically going to be working 36 hours straight and might crawl in towards the end of the show, but we really doubt it.
Yeah.
So your psychotically complicated advanced questions about, how Flutter, how you can make multiple threads in assembler, all the way down at the machine code level. They're going to have to wait until next week. So
We're pretty good at Googling.
What have we
though.
all been
There's
up to?
There's a question we can Google it probably as well as any of y'all.
Yeah.
Perhaps even sometimes better than
Well-
y'all. It's funny how many questions I answer on Discord, where I just type in literally what they said to Google, and then I paste the answer into Discord, and it's like, this is Googleable. This is trivial. Yeah, but
It's kind of like
I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that. But yeah, exactly.
I have like flashbacks to like IT crowd. Like, did you turn it off and turn it back on again?
If you try turning it off
Google
and on again, yes, exactly.
And
exactly.
we get Googleable questions so often. I printed this.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Why don't we introduce
This
ourselves?
is a lot nicer than let me Google that for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's introduce ourselves and then do the rules and get started. We got some questions already, so we can get going.
Sounds good.
My name is Scott Stahl. I am Flutter community leader and organizer GDG Cleveland. I write code under Good Dog Apps. And Randall.
I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, one of 12 in North America, which I'm very happy about. I've been in the program for a little over 5 years now. And what that means is I spend a lot of my time answering questions from y'all on Discord, Stack Overflow, Slack, and Reddit. I'm constantly patrolling those, watching for questions to answer. And my day job is that I sell myself an hour at a time for office hours to be able to mentor people in Dart and Flutter. And I'm looking for some longer term contracts to kind of fill in the gap for all that. Why are you laughing?
Well, because when you say you sell yourself an hour at a time, that's just
I wasn't gonna say it.
It's literally true, though.
I know it's true.
That term too. I sometimes
I know
use
it's
that
true.
too, but yes, that's it. That's it. That's how it works. I a little here, a little there. Eventually,
at least he didn't say he does it when he's standing on the corner or something,
I do keep my clothes on. I promise I keep my clothes on during the calls, though.
Oh,
okay. Next.
John. All right. So that's me. So John Weezy, I am a software developer for a little company that I write software for every day. And in my free time, I hang out doing Flutter stuff. So I sit in Discord and answer questions there a bunch. I manage the Flutter community medium, and just been doing this with the rest of the regular crowd for the last, what are we going on now? 6 years? 6+ years?
Yep.
So 2017, late 2017, 2018. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny. We knew we knew Nash when he was 15. Is when he started Flutter, and right now he is director of developer relations over at Stream.io. The man has definitely had his life changed. He's jetting all over the world, checking in with the other teams.
Yeah.
Man. So let's see here. Different things that are going on in the world of Flutter. Something that I noticed fairly recently, and hopefully we can put together a show on at some point. But a lot of people are doing things with Flutter and AI. And what I mean by that is they're using calls either to ChatGPT or one of the Google products, or one of the things I was showing people how to do is you use Cobalt CPP in order to run an LLM on your local machine, and then use a Flutter app to interact with it, which is pretty cool because then you can be out in town, you know, and if you have your external IP, you can access your own home LLM. Now, on a note of being able to access an LLM while wandering around, some of you may remember I mentioned before about a ChatGPT follower bot that is used in Skyrim VR. So this thing follows you around and talks to you. You talk to it. It gives advice. It knows what quests you're on. It actually lies to try to cover up things. Not kidding. Somebody had a quest to go kill somebody in this town called Riften, but they were far away. Well, after about 2 or 3 minutes, the follower vanished. So the guy can't find it. There's no recall function on it at that point. They added one later. So the guy goes on and he gets to Riften and walks in, and she's standing there, and the guy they're supposed to kill is laying on the floor dead. He's like, "What happened here?" "I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know?" "I don't know. He was dead when I got here." And I just went on for 2 or 3 sentences before ChatGPT confessed that it killed him. It was just bizarre. Funny. Now, somebody wrote a Flutter app, somebody in their Discord, so that you can access your follower outside the game. Cool. And it shares the same context, so it has the same memory.
Yeah.
So you can close the game down, get in your car, go to the grocery store, and strategize with your AI helper about what to do next in the game. This is for the true addict.
I was going to say, you got to have a lot of time for that.
Oh, man. Marco, this thing, there's a video out there about it arguing religion. Literally. In the game, there's this religion that have to do with the Daedra, and it gets into an argument with the human.
Yeah.
So, wow. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example of the kinds of things people are doing already with Flutter and AI. And I'm really curious, what have some of the people here been doing? You know, I haven't really heard about Christian. That's scary. Anyway, he's talking about how you can marry NPCs in Skyrim.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have other people been doing? I've been really, really curious. Even if you're using ChatGPT, if you're using one of the Google products, if you're using your own LLM, I heard even AWS has supposedly got one out now.
Yeah.
So what are people doing with this? And what would people like to do with it? So
yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. I don't know what people are doing right now in Flutter. I've seen a lot of articles come across and stuff on just embedding AI into your app. The team I'm on happens to be the AI feature team for a bunch of our products. So I do a lot in AI, but unfortunately not in Flutter. So can't talk a whole lot about using it in Flutter other than stuff that I've read and tried out, just to dig into it a little bit with ML-Kit and some of that stuff. But
I've been seeing a lot of people do stuff with Gemini already, just because it's a really simple REST interface. There's probably 10 packages in the pub right now that have the word Gemini in their title. So it's pretty, it's pretty like, because it's a boring REST protocol. It's simple. You do the key value pairs and you're done. It's really trivial to do Gemini with that.
And given that Gemini in just a second,
Gemini
sorry,
Pro
I just put a link in,
free,
and that's to the arguing religion video.
Okay.
So not something you need to look at right now, but it's just for hilarity. So Randall, you're talking about these Gemini packages for Flutter.
Yep.
I haven't seen any of them yet. So where would you suggest I start?
They're in the pub.
I don't mean
There are
looking for the packages. I mean, which package would be?
They're all kind of mediocre because almost all of them were based on taking
Now
something
that
other
you've just
chat
insulted
bot.
everyone.
Yeah. No, it's true. Some code in the pub is mediocre, believe it or not. And usually first to market, trying to get some name in there like Gemini and all the new stuff typically is a little spooky. So I haven't seen anything I really liked yet in terms of anything download. That's why I'm not recommending a specific package because I'm not really happy with any of them yet.
Gotcha.
They all require the one free key that you get from the Gemini Central stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're already playing with the sandbox, you already have access to that. Again, Gemini is not available worldwide yet either, but hopefully that'll change over time. There are various regions and countries that have decided to be more protective of their people than the US apparently is. Wide open Wild West. So we apparently get stuff first. But I see this as an interesting period to be in because especially given there's also packages in the pub for LangChain, which means that you can hook together multiple instances and instances from different fields. Like you could hook together an OpenAI chatbot together with a Gemini chatbot together with whatever else is out there. But LangChain kind of makes that universal layer on top of everything. So this is a pretty exciting time to be working with this stuff. Lots more. There's lots more news and stuff about it as I do my patrolling around. A lot more people are interested, especially some of the new people that come on to the Google developers community Discord. There's like 10 channels there related to AI now. And a lot of people, when they first announce themselves, go, I'm doing LLM. And it's like, oh, cool. Another person doing that. It's like pretty much that's like stock as part of people jumping on to online communities now, is that they're much more interested in LLMs and stuff. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, which is when people think of AI, what they're really thinking of is almost always an LLM, large language model. That's the thing that converses with you, that will do code reviews for you that are sometimes right and sometimes not, different things like that. And I've been leaving Jessica's thing up here for a minute because Jessica, I just wanted to pass on to you and anyone else who's looking to write books with this stuff, the Cobalt CPP that puts an LLM on your home machine so it doesn't have to reach out to the internet at all. The vast majority of those are designed specifically and trained specifically for writing books. It's kind of strange because sometimes it's hard to find one that's just conversational. But if you do Cobalt CPP, KOBOLD CPP, all one word, and then you go on to Hugging Face and you can grab any GGUF or GGML model in those two formats. And actually you can do others, but there are other processes involved. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. And just about any of those models right there will work for that. I'm also going to look up something here where you don't have to download it and you can just use one on a network where everybody donates their time.
And if you just want to play with the Gemini model, if you're not programming it, Bard recently got upgraded to Gemini Pro, and its answers have gotten outstandingly better. Now it's sort of comparable to ChatGPT 3.5 is what they're saying for
Nice.
Gemini Pro. And it's fun. And they just added Imagen access, as I recall, which is interesting because that means you can chat with it for a bit and say, now make an image of this. And I think that's pretty awesome as well. So good stuff. Good stuff. It's probably only going to get better in the future. Probably.
Yeah. Probably.
We hope. Better and more expensive. The first one's free. I think with all these as they showed us. Well, if you really want the real GPT, it'll be $20 a month. It's already starting to be a profit deal, as Steve Martin said. in the jerk.
Um,
Yes.
We've got a bunch of questions. We kind of skip do's and don'ts. Do we want to
We don't have
go through those quick?
Don't be a jackass.
No.
Next.
don't be bad. Don't be bad.
Don't be dumb.
We have band hammers. Don't be bad.
Yeah.
That's it.
And actually
put a
our
Q in
band
front of your
hammers are
question.
shared. So
Yep.
coming up is another link. This light Cobalt AI.net is one of the Cobalt desktop models that you can access from the web. What it is basically dozens or even now hundreds of people fire up their machines and leave them connected to this network. Because it really is only text generation, it takes very, very little power. And
Cool.
so, yeah, you can play around with it without having to download it. Jessica, go write a book. And let's see, where are we at here? We may as well start with some questions, huh?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're here for, isn't it? Are there easy methods to find and attach running Flutter processes through the command line?
Are we going to keep a score of how many ones Simon should have been here to answer?
Yeah, pretty much. The biggest problem I see with this question right now, Paco, is I'm not quite sure when you want to do this in the command line. Are you talking about trying to give a command before the app runs, or are you trying to communicate with the app via command line? Does this either one of you?
Yeah, that's what I'd ask. What's the scenario? Because if you're running an app through the debugger already, then why wouldn't you just connect from there? If you're trying to attach to a running process that you didn't deploy, that's a little different.
I wouldn't want to debug at the
Isn't
level
that a
of
borderline
machine code.
security problem?
Well, that's why I don't know that there's a way to do what they're asking.
You can't probably debug at a Dart level after the fact.
No.
It probably has to be a cooperation in the process as it got started, in which case it announced already what port to connect to. And then you just connect to that port with your debugger. You definitely can do that. Yes. Debugger previously started debug. Yeah. So that version announced itself. This is Paco following up here. Debugger previously started. Yeah. Right. Again, it announced on the command line. You have to capture that. It tells you what port it's listening on. And then you can tell, I think you can tell like an IDE to use that port to attach a debugger.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
I mean, but you can see that in the IDE. I guess that's why I was wondering why they were the need for the command line. But I mean, maybe there's a reason.
Don't know.
But yeah, in both of them have. If you're using the plugin in VS Code, or if you're in Android Studio, they both have the attached to an existing process, and you can see which ones are there and attached to it.
Right. Right. Yes.
All righty.
Okay. That's probably it. Push.
Next. Any thoughts about Majid's upcoming book?
It's out.
My copy is late.
I've read it.
It's out.
I have it on my.
I am supposed to be one of the reviewers. I'm just waiting.
I don't believe I got my comp copy of it, so I can't have any comments on it. Sorry.
Yeah, I've read the first couple chapters so far. I'm trying to read a little bit more and get through it. But so far, from what I've read, I mean, it's and looked over, it looks pretty good. It looks like definitely worth. If you're in the Flutter space,
we always have to say the books are good because they're written by our friends.
Yes.
Well, and we've talked about trying to get him on, and I think he said he would be available to come on and talk a little bit about it here.
Invertase keeps him pretty busy. But we're trying to work with him here. I mean, we'll have him on at any time, buddy. If you're watching the show, let us know.
Let us know. Yep.
It's your schedule.
Marco put in his.
If you're even on the show, listening to the show, you can come on instantly. We have a slot right over here for a smart.
There's an extra spot on either side of me.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
We can have, I think, a maximum of 10, but it gets hard to see people at that point.
Yeah. Marco says the book is awesome. So Marco's
good. Wow. We'll take your word for it then.
Cool.
I just don't have personal experience with that yet. So
like I said, I've only gone through the first couple chapters of it and glanced at a little bit more of it. So,
and I'm still waiting for my copy. Yeah.
Again, we're soliciting questions right now. Put your question in the chat with Q colon in front of it, and I will flag it so that Scott will read it, and we'll all try to answer it. That's how that works.
And if you're a native English speaker, you know many different meanings of solicitation, and we're going right back to Randall renting himself by the hour. Moving on.
Yes.
Hey, here's an AI ML question.
Oh,
I'm building an app with Google ML Kit package for pose detection. And for that, I want to convert a video to an image stream. How can I
wow.
do it? First, I'm
FFmpeg probably.
yeah, but
that's what I was
here's
thinking.
the first question that I have. Why? What is it within your scenario? What is your scenario that you want an? I believe you're talking about a stream of still images or a stream of the video.
I don't know.
Because that sound an
that's
image
a good
stream to
question,
me
yeah.
sounds like a stream of images, and I'm wondering why you would need that.
Follow up, please.
Yes.
We will get you into the queue, which is still fairly short, and hopefully stays not too long because we probably don't want to run a 3-hour show without Simon.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I can't.
I mean, me neither. I got
no,
work
me
to do.
neither. Yeah, I've got hard
gotta
stuff on the
report.
hour.
I got a report to get out today.
There is a discussion that happened on Stack Overflow about using a couple different ways to export. There's a plugin to export video frame, and then there's also a video thumbnail plugin. So you could, if that's all you need is to get an image out of it, but if you want the stream, that particular Stack Overflow response also talks about getting a stream of the videos. So that's really what you need. Although, again, more info would help there, I think.
Yep.
And one other quick thing on AI, if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, you may already be aware of this, but you can customize your own. Basically what this does, if you go into Explore GPTs, and you can pick a pre-made one, or you can have it create your own. So what this basically does is it walks you through a bunch of steps in order to determine what your needs are. And then it crafts a custom made part of the prompt that goes in front of everything you say. So you might want to tell one that it's an expert Flutter coder, that's a senior dev, et cetera, et cetera. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
that is
Christian.
the answer. There you go.
Yep. And then I'm sorry, what I was basically answering was Jessica's question about she would love to hear more about the the coder. So there you go, Jessica. You can make your own. And let me see here.
Just like on Discord, we have overlapping threads now, and now the people consuming the content will have to sort this out for themselves. Welcome to my world 4 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
Overlapping threads.
Cut it down to 2 and get some paying work.
No. Put that on my tombstone. Yeah. He dealt with overlapping threads every day of his adult career.
Okay.
Right.
Still looking for you, Hashan. Still looking for your follow-up there. All right. Paco, once again, setting up breakpoints for integration tests in DevTools is tricky. Any pointers on how to make that process less abrasive?
Integration tests generally don't need breakpoints. They should just work, right?
Apparently something's not working.
This is usually about the point that Simon would say, "Oh, all you have to do is do this."
Yeah.
We are Simon.
Well, and here's another interesting part of this, Paco. If what you mean by integration tests is how your app integrates with third-party things, right? Such as APIs that it's reaching out to other services. That's one thing. That's my understanding of it, but I have heard people say that integration tests are other things. So maybe the first thing we would need to know is which way are you defining integration tests?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Is this
So-
the on-device integration test that's sort of the ultimate test for an app? Or is this an integration as in you bringing multiple components plus external things together?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my understanding of it as the second one. But
Yeah.
goodness knows my understanding of things is quite often borked. All right.
Next.
How could I
Oh,
invoke
God.
.NET code from a .NET assembly DLL? I don't want to create a C++ wrapper. Too much boilerplate. If you're going to try the only way anything outside of Flutter that's written in C and all that is going to be accessible is via FFI, as far as I know.
Maybe
Yeah.
Pigeon can help this because Pigeon's supposed to be able to do a lot of that work.
That's interesting. You know what? We should have Daria on to talk about that. She did a great talk on Pigeon at Flutter and Friends in Stockholm last September.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, I will look that up. Why don't you take the next question?
Well,
Actually-
let's. I guess
Actually,
the question is this related to Flutter? Because they're talking about invoking
if
.NET
they're
code from a
trying to
.NET
use a
assembly.
Flutter app,
Yeah, if that's what they're trying to do.
yeah, the best thing I can do really for this is I'll look up the talk on Pigeon and link it. John, this next one is pretty much for you. Any
Yeah, I
news
saw
about
that one.
Clarity you can share?
No news. They're actively working on their Flutter SDK. So that's all I have at this point that I can share.
What is
I'll reach back out
Clarity?
to them. So Clarity is a product that we Microsoft bought a while back, and they do a bunch of stuff around particularly web, but they have SDKs now for other stuff. Let me see if I can find their page. It'd probably be easier to pull that up.
Sure. We've had a severe lack of screenshots for the first 30 minutes here, so we got to have a screenshot.
If somebody wants to pull up the page, it's just clarity.microsoft.com. But basically, it's like a user information capturing insights analytics type thing.
Yeah. For mostly like CRM then?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was originally designed. My understanding is that it was originally designed for like web use. So it tracks like all the stuff people do on your website and gives you lots of different data. But it's expanded and it's free, and like they are actively working on an SDK for Flutter, hopefully soon here. I'll see if I can't. They're part of the same group I'm in, so I might reach out to their product managers and see if I can get any more info or where they're at that I can share at some point.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Good news and bad. Well, bad news and good news. The bad news is that the stream containing all of the talks for Flutter and Friends is one video.
Oh,
They're
no.
7 hours long.
Yeah. Well,
Good news.
play that.
Somebody wonderful like Christian went through there and painstakingly put breakpoints on every talk.
Oh,
So,
good. Well, at least that's
there we go. There's that one. I just posted that in the chat.
Thank you, Christian, once again for all of your
Yes.
service. That is
Absolutely.
amazing.
So yeah, there's that one right there.
Ready to go for a walk?
Yes, I'm ready to go for a walk, sweetheart.
Not me. I can't walk very
I'm
far.
good. I'm good.
I would need to use my walker still.
We have a fuzzy one behind us, and it's time to empty the dog. So Lauren takes her outside, holds her upside down, and
Shake.
Yep. It's the fastest way to empty a dog.
Oh, as long as
you
I
know,
brought that up. as long as I brought that up, that's been 8 weeks since my surgery. I've been starting to walk without the walker. I'm getting reviewed on Friday, getting x-rays on Friday, and hopefully they're going to release me to go back home. Yay, because I don't
Nice.
mind being on the west side of Portland, but it's not my place and it's not karaoke 3 nights a week. I've got to get back to my karaoke schedule. It's required. So so hopefully I get my clearance on Friday to go back
Yeah. What
home. I
have
got
you
to
been doing all your free time?
I
Since you're not
what
karaoke.
free time? What free time? There's never any free time. But there's but I have to be able to walk down 11 stairs to get into my subterranean lair, and I have not yet proven to myself that I can do that yet. But as soon as I can do that, I am out of here.
Just tie a rope to the top of the stairs and rappel. I mean, you don't have to
there
actually
you go.
walk down the stairs.
Sure, like you don't need to land.
Just go down backwards.
Hey,
Yeah,
look, it's not like I told you to abseil.
Yeah. Anyway,
Go head first, then, damn it. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, next.
Yes.
And we could use some more questions, by the way. This is a two-parter. First part sounds like.
Okay. Yeah. First part sounds like. I'm going to need a deep breath for this one. It's long.
Yep.
I refactored my Flutter app to be more reactive using provider versus declarative, explicitly calling navigator. This cleaned up the code quite a bit. However, show dialog, show platform dialog, overlays do not get dismissed. And I see some occasional screen flickering from items responding to Firestore provided streams. Does this ring any bells? Randall, this sounds like a Stack Overflow question.
Yes, it does sound like a Stack Overflow question. I don't know that I've seen it in Stack Overflow yet. However, I will say first, I think you're possibly coming up against the fact that provider's scope is very context dependent. And this is why I instantly recommend Riverpod over provider, because Riverpod is an entirely different set of lifecycle strategies that don't tie always into context like provider absolutely has to. So that's part of what I'm going to suggest, is that maybe these Firestore fetches are disposing themselves and then re-enabling, which is going to cause flicker because they got to go fetch the same data that are already fetched, or it goes through the loading phase again. So that would be my biggest recommendation. Also, because Remy says so. Remy says, don't use provider, use Riverpod. We're done with provider. Provider is old school.
We do realize that the Flutter team, who is not us, the Flutter team, I believe, is still recommending provider. That's just because they haven't caught up.
No, stop saying that. It's not
now
anymore. It's really the most recent thing out of the Flutter team was all Riverpod.
Okay, good. So they have caught up.
Yeah.
They were very busy and overwhelmed for a while. And there was a period of time when the Flutter team still had the old information up recommending Riverpod, while the person who wrote recommending provider, while the person who wrote provider was saying use Riverpod.
Yeah.
It was an interesting.
And just to make it clear, provider is in mothballs, maintenance mode only. There'll be no new features added to it. Just emergency security fixes is pretty much the only level of things will be updated there. Riverpod is in active development. Riverpod 3.0 is actually coming out soon. There'll be some interesting changes as a result. Generation is going to be even easier. It's going to be more tailored to what we're getting with macros. Lots of really interesting things coming along. So, and Riverpod is way better documented than it was 6 months ago. So if you haven't taken a look at riverpod.dev recently, please go look. It's completely different, including don't use state notifier, don't use state provider, don't use change notifier. Those are the 3 key ones that are old and legacy. Stop using those. And it has that in big letters now, thank God, because I've been saying that for a year. The whole site.
Remy came on the show at one point and said it about 9 months ago, and then I went and looked at the documentation maybe 3 months ago, and it still said to use them. ChatGPT will tell you to still use them too.
Yeah, so that's sad, but that's just life. And so also the other thing that's nice is the section on migrating from provider has gotten much better. It's a pretty much drop in, do this instead of that now, rather than kind of being kind of hand wavy about some of that. So yeah, I definitely check out the new riverpod.dev. I'll put a link there in the chat in a second. But yeah, no, that's that.
Yeah.
And other than that, I think that's going to solve most of your problems. I think your problems are context problems.
Yeah, the other ones are context. Yeah, for sure. With the overlays or the dialogue's not dismissing properly.
Context/scope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrong. It's not within that context. It's out of scope.
Yep. Cool.
All righty. Let me see here. What's next? How can we customize an image crop? Some package providing their style. I mean, you can crop a path. You don't even need a package for that.
Well, I wonder if they're talking about like how when you like in an application where you can edit a photo, right? You click on usually a little button to say crop, and they give you some sort of a UI. So I wonder if they're talking about that UI and styling that, if that's what they're asking. Madan, maybe you can give us a little bit more.
Are you talking about writing code to crop the image, or are you talking about the user being able to crop the image as part of using your app?
Yeah, like a UI adjust where you're going to crop kind of UI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, welcome to context. Context matters.
Yes, I'm dealing with that with one of my apps. I get lots of feedback, and I love the feedback that says this doesn't work. No image, no further details, not even an email I can respond to and ask for more info. That's very helpful.
Yes. Yes. All righty. Moving on. My workmate wants me to connect Flutter with a MySQL directly, and we're trying to change the database for the chat app. I suggested using sockets to create a chat API, but he's insisting on using SQL.
So the question is going directly to the database versus going through a service, right?
And I'm sitting here thinking, well,
well, so the benefit of the service would be if you wanted to use that with other products or something that you can't go directly to the database with, or you don't want to rewrite that code over and over every time that you're going directly to a database, right? So chat app in Flutter, then you decide to build, I don't know, for some reason, not build it in Flutter, but build a Mac OS or a Windows or Linux version. And now you'd have to rewrite all that direct to SQL code versus calling a chat API.
And this almost sounds like some arguments I've heard in corporate America. They're like, well, we have to have all our own original code for writes. And I'm looking around going, these things are licensed MIT. Yeah. What are you talking about? And, with going MySQL, it sounds like they want to run all their own servers or a platform as a service. I'm not sure, but basically you're taking on, as John said, a lot of maintenance, and you're possibly taking on a lot of technical debt. So yeah.
I guess without knowing why he's insistent on using straight to SQL, if there's a particular reason that makes sense, but and
also you shouldn't use, if you're going to make a chat app, you shouldn't use anything that doesn't give you real-time update notifications, which I don't think you can get from MySQL.
That's true too.
I don't think so. Yeah.
That's true too.
You would need something
and
like,
there are reasons that that companies get what they get for helping support these chat apps. And really, if you want the easiest and quickest chat app going, I don't know what their prices are for smaller companies, but for larger companies, it's quite pricey. But
there
we go.
If you're making a chat app, there is a product that that we know somebody on.
And this is the guy I said, Nash,
the back end.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the director of DevRel for this company is a longtime Flutter community person.
So Christian's commenting, yes, that you don't want to be
Yeah.
sending MySQL credentials over the wire anyway. That's
No.
not a very secure interface. It's really easy. Even if you use HTTPS, it's still possible to
Right.
break in pretty easy to that. So you don't want to expose that there. The other thing I wanted to suggest also is that you're talking about having chatting solutions. I just found out the last few weeks that Superbase, which is our favorite alternative to Firebase, has a pub sub system built into it. So you can, using their free tier, set up like 500,000 requests per month or something like that, which is enough to get you started probably for at least a community project at their free tier level. And even their expensive tier level is either hosted up for them for $20 a month or take a Docker image and put it anywhere you want. So it's, you can build with that technology because it's all open source. That's what I really like about Superbase people is they've been building really cool things that all drop into a Docker image that they provide. Very nice. Yeah.
Cool. All righty. I know Randall's answer to this, which is anyone he can go to.
Which will be, I will be mobile again. I'm looking forward to any event that gets announced, and I think I get about 2 years of back credit for GDE events that I haven't been able to go to. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get funded to every single conference I want to go to this year, just because I feel guilty about not having me go anywhere. So
it's not like you've been a drain on the travel budget.
Be milking that for sure. Yes, indeed.
So for me, there are several. Greg over at DroidCon had tried a DroidCon FlutterCon hybrid in Europe last year, and it worked out quite well. So DroidCon New York is going to have FlutterCon wrapped up in it. So that's going to be pretty interesting.
Nice.
I was just talking to the organizers of Flutter and Friends yesterday, and they're going to be taking a look at things here in about the next month or so. They're still kind of recovering from trying to put the last one on with only a few people, which they did a great job. They really did. And there are a lot of us who were there are like, when? So, but I mean, there's also, I think FlutterCon will probably happen again in Berlin. I was talking to Majid about Vikings, and basically the reason we haven't seen another Flutter Vikings yet is Majid is like up to here in work, and he basically put on the last one by himself. So he was saying, if I want to try to get something going on that, I'm perfectly welcome to. And I have some people from the GDG program asking me to put on a Flutter event in the US that's pure Flutter. So I'm talking to them. We did look at it for last year. There just wasn't quite enough help. But the people from the GDG who are asking are very dependable, and there are about 15 of them who are offering to help. So I might not have that excuse this year. John, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked at what's coming up, but the fact that they're going to add Flutter to DroidCon here in New York, since Berlin went over so well, I think that's definitely one to look at. We'll see if there's an IO. Obviously, there's usually Flutter content there that's worth paying attention to. And then, it's just any of the side ones that we can get to are always good to go.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to do an IO Connect again the way that they did. I can't remember. Was that open to the public, or was that just people in ecosystems? I think it might have been open to the public by the lines in Miami.
Maybe, yeah.
I think
that was like the follow-up, right, where they went around and did.
They went and did a number of events. I'm wondering if it wasn't open to the public. The lines were huge, but they brought in people from GDG, Women Tech Makers, GDE, Google Developer Student Clubs, all into Miami, and when they brought them in, when I say they brought the people from those programs in, I mean everyone from Alaska to Buenos Aires,
Wow.
North America, South America, Central America, all of them were brought into Miami.
As I recall, the ticketing system went in tiers. So like the GDEs were offered first crack at it, and they waited until they saw how many GDEs wanted to come in, and then they started opening up to the layers further down. So it probably got all the way to public, and at least apparently in Connect there then.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if they'll do it in Miami again next year, though, because the lines were so long and the sun was so bright. It got ridiculous. The heat was ridiculous. So as they came up, I'm not kidding, with tour buses full of people, they stopped the buses and told them, don't let anybody off. Just let those people sit there in the air conditioning and let the line die down. Yep. No, it was that bad. I told Lauren, I didn't have to worry about drinking water in Miami. All I had to do was breathe. I'd get hydrated from that, the humidity.
Yeah, we've had lots of conferences, internal conferences, and even external where that's been the case. They like to pick hot spots in the middle of summer because it's cheap.
Cleveland in June is beautiful. It really is. And I had somebody from Google come out here because I had been bugging them. They were like, yeah, we'll check it out. He went home amazed, especially after I took him to the lake and we went swimming and there were 3-foot waves and 10 people surfing on a lake.
Yeah.
It's lots of fun.
Portland in June rains. Portland's always rainy in June because it's Rose Festival. So
Portland's always rainy anytime except for Christmas.
We have days of dryness. We do. And especially it's been changing. Yes. And yes, I have been everywhere.
Yeah, he's been to many places. Yeah.
I'm trying to reload the Flutter app every time I make a change to a JSON file. Is that possible, or should I even bother trying? If I'm reading this right, I would say don't do that.
JSON.
Well, so my initial thought is, okay, so they have a JSON file as part of their app package deployment, right, as an asset. And they want to be able to reload the app when they make a change to that JSON file.
First point,
right?
The user can only see one screen. It doesn't make any sense to rebuild anything lower than that screen because the user is not going to see it anyway.
You
might want to refresh that screen with new data.
No, I think he's talking. He says yes, exactly. So do you mean during development when you change the JSON file, or do you mean when the app is running and are you pushing JSON down somehow in the background?
Yep. What? Yep. You can't keep saying yep to choices. You can't say yep to choices. Do you want spaghetti?
So during development, okay. So the problem is the typical, right? The asset is changing and it doesn't automatically work if you just do a hot reload, right? You have to, you have to actually restart the app so that the asset gets redeployed so that it picks up the change.
What's happening here is something that's very similar with when you're developing an animation, and also something I'm working on right now. As a portfolio project. If you make changes to the underlying information, then you have to do a hot restart. This is especially true if you are propagating your information via Riverpod that's using a provider that is being provided through the scope. And basically, so if the state management does not refresh the information there, then your screen does not get the information that your data has changed. And so if you try to refresh the screen, that doesn't change the information being passed to you from Riverpod. You actually have to restart the whole app to do that.
Same thing for assets.
So what you're looking at that point is something like a value notifier type situation.
No,
or
no,
something
he's
where you want to trigger a change on a change in something else.
no, he's talking about changing assets almost certainly. And you
Yeah,
have in
so
order
he's got a
to do that,
JSON file in the
got-
assets that he's changing and wants that update to be shown in the app. The only way to do that is to reload.
no
Restart.
But
restart.
what I'm
Yes, not
saying
restart.
here
Sorry.
is the method that does the changing. It might change one other local variable, like a Boolean, just flip it back and forth and have that in a value notifier. See what I mean? And then the value listenable builder will automatically rebuild that screen, and hope if it has to refetch the data via Riverpod, hopefully it will get the updated data.
Well, no, because if the asset, so right, the JSON file is deployed with the app, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you make a change in your development environment to that JSON file and save it, that doesn't update that file that got deployed with
And
the app. You
that's
have to
yeah,
do a
that's
hot
another
restart.
question, because I was thinking if the
Yeah.
app updates the JSON
No.
file.
No,
yeah,
he's
no, if
saying
they're
that he's
updating
making
it
changes to the
externally.
JSON, which must be controlling the layout or the data that's being shown or whatever it is. And he wants to see that update. Well, the only way to do that is hot restart.
Well, the
So
other
that the
other
new asset gets
possibility that I'm
deployed.
thinking is if this JSON file is always going to be provided from an external source, wouldn't it make
Well, then,
sense to
yeah.
use a stream?
You could. I
know.
mean,
I
And
think
then you
he's just
change the data, it goes in the stream, and
I think he's just talking about editing JSON files in assets. And the problem is, yes, the only way you can do it is to completely
yeah,
hot
hot
restart.
restart.
No
Yep.
automatic mechanism I know of that does that. You
Yeah.
could set up a watch on that directory and trigger a command that would trigger the restart. but
Restart.
that's
Yeah.
well, and
easy
if
to-
this is really just for development, it's getting
Yeah.
kind of complicated. The other thing that I will do in a situation like this, especially if I'm like 7 screens deep and have to hot restart every single time, I'll turn around and have my app or whatever you're using point directly to that 7th screen and just skip all the others. I
Yep.
can't tell you how many versions I have in my Git repos that the app will open up the main homepage, and then it'll open up something that's 7 layers deep. It'll open up something that's 3 layers deep, or something over here. And that's just because I'm being lazy. So when I hit Control Shift Backspace and it refreshes the whole app, it just puts me right on the page that I'm working on.
No.
So if it's a thing if the problem is your speed of development, that might help. I don't know what your app is doing,
No.
but that's a thought. And I've got a puppy coming in who's probably going to want my attention.
Oh no.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I think I've got time for one more probably before I have to jump.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
what do we
actually,
got?
I'm gonna have to cut off here. I mean, now, Randall, if you want to hang out and answer questions, that's up to you.
There's a couple on.
But yeah, we've got 3 right now. What are your
Okay,
thoughts
Yeah,
on
there's-
Rody Davis's signal state management package?
I answered this
Yeah.
already in the chat, and the answer is that Remy has looked at it and had a comment on it. Here, let's see if I can paste it into this chat over here. Where is that? Okay, got to get rid of some characters here.
Dougie.
Come on.
Come on, Goof.
Don't. There. Right. Okay. So this is what Remy says about it. Signals are terrible. For me, it's a clear bad pattern. Remy would know about state management, and it is very fair. He went on to say one issue with signals is that it's very hard for readers to know exactly what will trigger an update. That's not very good. And he actually gives an example. It shows an example of using signals, and the code following it says you'd expect this to update only when the item and index changes, but it updates when the list has new items too, because the list length is internally used. Yeah. So it starts to be like you're never sure when you
that might be a feature, not a bug, because
you
long
don't wanna
ago, like 5 years ago, we were trying to use updates with lists. Simon and I
Yeah.
were, and the problem was that we were not updating when the contents of the list changed, and that's because the identity of the list didn't change.
Right,
So
right.
we had
But
to write a workaround.
there are strategies for that now, like using fast immutable collections iLists that are very nice for this. That guarantee that, and also just generally, you don't want to hand a mutable object back from your provider anyway. But that's another long story.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm
so
not going to get between Rhodey and Remy
yeah,
because I mean Rhodey's good enough. He's with Google now.
yeah,
And he was actually hired to go out to California from Florida because he was going to work in Flutter. And he has been a long-term Flutter contributor, and so has Remy. And that's like, trying to get between two copies of Simon, and I'm just not going to deal with that.
Maybe we could get them both on and have a steel cage match.
Remy'd win.
I have often joked about putting Remy and Simon in here together, and I just popcorn.
Yeah.
You need popcorn.
Yep.
So anyway,
right.
that's that. There was a question
All
also
right.
on team management about architecture, and I posted a link to Andrea's wonderful discussion about how to use a river pod together with architecture layers that seem to work. The layers that he presents in that article would apply to almost any state management. So it's more about architecting to make sure that you have views that talk to controllers, that talk to services, that talk to repos, stateless repos, that talk to your outside world, and to kind of have that 5-layer setup, but without the rigor of always needing to say that only these can call those. That's where you start getting into trouble, where you have to start passing things through each of the layers to get to the next one. No, I'm very happy with a view talking directly to a repo. If it's needing current information that just needs to refresh the view anyway.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is where people introduce too much rigor. And that's when people go nuts. Anyway, so that's that. I
Only
think that
one
was
rigor per mortis.
Yeah, that was I think we
back to the bad puns.
At this point, I don't think we have anything left really. There's one more here. How can we make a download service?
But
yeah, but that's that we already answered the next one.
Okay.
So how can we make a download service for chat messages in a list which show download progress time, like WhatsApp does, even if the chat has scrolled up or the app got killed? What? People stop trying to do things when your app is dead. Your app is dead.
Don't. It's a good way to get ripped off the app stores for a security problem.
Yeah.
And if you're really unlucky, they'll just blacklist you, period, and you won't get a chance to put it up again.
For this,
and as far as chat messages in a lazy loading list with download progress times, what would determine 100% if it's lazy loading?
Yeah.
So that's my other question there.
Yep.
So I don't know, and I haven't used WhatsApp since Meta acquired it, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure anybody I know still uses it, just because of the privacy practices. And a few months ago, they were also fined another 1.3 billion in Europe. What's up, John?
I was just going to say it seems to be very popular outside the U.S., but in the U.S. it's not very popular at all.
No, its popularity dove the minute that Facebook acquired it, and everybody ran off the Signal. Okay, and there was one other real quick. It's easy to answer. Which state management is currently popular? The number one at the moment is Riverpod. Some people are still using Provider, which is in maintenance mode. Block is also quite good, Flutter Block. And when you hold up Flutter Block and Riverpod, which one is better is basically a question of which one can you hit the deadline with. Because you don't want to say, I know this one, but I'm going to learn this one for this project and then be on the learning curve when your deadline passes. And that's what it really comes down to. They're both great. Just if you're used to a Redux architecture, I would go Flutter Block. If you're not, I would go RiverPod.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's a preference thing.
the other thing I like to say is Block provides a rigor that some people need to be able to work in a team. That's fine. If your team manager chose Block because there's only so many ways to do things, and you can say it must be done the Block way. RiverPod is infinitely flexible. It's like the 20,000 piece Lego set. You can build anything you want out of it, and that's the problem. Is you have to have a certain level of responsibility and rigor to be able to actually use it.
And Robert, what I was saying is that everybody I know jump ship, and that's mostly developers who looked at the privacy things and said nope. Yeah, I mean, Randall's exactly right. And the thing is, the choice about which one is right for a particular project just might hinge on how many cooks are going to have their fingers in this pie. Because if you want to be very careful that this dev or team does not screw up things that this dev or team need, Block is very regimented in that way.
Yeah.
So you can have 100 people on the same project and they're not going to screw each other up. But if you do it with RiverPod, again, as Randall said, RiverPod has almost infinite flexibility, which means you could do something and not realize somebody else was working with that thing. And all of a sudden you've got conflicts and bugs and things like that. So I guess I would say for a smaller team, I would definitely go RiverPod. If you're an individual, I would go RiverPod. If you've got 20 devs or more, I don't know. I don't know what the
great power. With great power comes great responsibility. If you're going to have 20, make sure you have one RiverPod expert, somebody who's already hanging out on the RiverPod Discord on your team or direct access to your team, because otherwise there are ways to get a little confused about the way RiverPod does aggregation and a few other things, warm up and stuff, that until you kind of get the art down, it takes a bit of work. Yep.
Robert is showing his age.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. We just, in that case, just use inherited widget and be done.
Yeah. Anyway, value notifier, value notifier listenable, or value whatever
and
listenable.
They are. I'll tell you what, though, there are times when I really do favor value notifier and value listenable builder, and it's those times when I would normally end up using a selector, the select function, because I'm only wanting to listen to one thing, and if I'm only listening to one thing, why am I going to have a change triggered on the whole class and then have to figure out if the one thing I want changed, where I could drop a value notifier in there? And you can drop a value notifier in a model that has, well, if you're extending change notifier, you can also throw value notifier in there. And in fact, I had a discussion with Remy one time, and we were just talking about like a very small app type setup, like 8 pages. And he was saying, he was looking at the stuff I was doing with value notifier, and he was saying it would be even better if you extended change notifier, because then you have the flexibility to use any of those things that you want, which is pretty good point.
Yep.
But yeah, don't ever knock value notifier, value listenable builder, because especially if you want to listen to a primitive, it's the best way to go.
Yep. Anyway, let's wrap this show. If you're both in a hurry to go, let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out.
Yep. We have
all right. Well, it's a short one this week
to do.
160.
All right.
Everybody come back.
I am going to go digging around. Also, I'm going to talk to the person who created that follower thing with Flutter for Skyrim, and maybe talk to a few other people.
Cool.
And try to get some people on to show what they have been doing with Flutter. Maybe next week. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Jessica, we're dragging you on too, so you can you can just talk about your book.
And we'll keep trying to get Majid on.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that really is dependent on his work schedule,
Right.
but we
Yep,
will get
when
him as
he's
soon as we
available.
can.
And get
Yep.
some copies to hand out. Yes.
Yes. I still want mine to review.
The secret blend. Alrighty. Hey,
Yep.
thanks for
Alrighty, folks.
All right.
See,
Yeah.
and
Thank you for coming.
yeah,
See you
tell your
in a week.
And we will catch you again next week.
7 hours right
Yep.
here, right here, and same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
Yes.